Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming to my webinar. My name is Sara Bee and I am the Bee behind BKKP Pole Dance Essentials, and the topic of my webinar today is how you know it's time for a break from pole dancing, the signs that you need a break, and how that break could be the best thing for your relationship with pole dance. So if you're a beginner, you might be thinking, I just started, why do I need to take a break? And the truth is, you might not yet, but to know that at the beginning of your pole dance journey, a break is available to you anytime you need it is just going to make sure that you have a more fulfilling and a longer lasting relationship with pole dance. And if you find yourself in the position to be a beginner again after having taken a break, that is a wonderful place to be, and we'll talk about why. Today's topic is focusing solely on voluntary pole breaks. A voluntary pole break is something that you do because you choose to, because you feel the need to. Involuntary is something that is not your choice, like taking a break because of an injury, a major life event, a change in health status, or a change in available resources like time, money, or access. So involuntary pole breaks are a whole separate animal. Like taking a break to rest an injury, for example, might not be super effective if you aren't strengthening and rehabbing your injury during your break. But that's more of a Dr. Emily Rausch kind of area of expertise. So if that's what you're interested in, I can highly recommend following her or checking her out. But what we're going to talk about are the voluntary pole breaks, the ones that we choose to take. So a little bit about me. I've been pole dancing since 2013. I was 33 years old, so you can do the math. I did my first amateur pole comp. It was a PSO event in 2014. And I got my certification to teach pole dance through Expert in 2015. And I started teaching regularly in 2016. And then sometime in 2017, I started working on my first pole dance product, which was the Bee's Knees knee pad, the sleek and sexy pole dance knee pads that strap on and strip off. And I launched my business with that one product opening in 2018. So if you just look at that list of dates, it's like the second I started pole, I did nothing else and was totally obsessed and didn't stop and had no breaks. So that's probably the most important thing to know about me before I start talking about a break is my intensity. I do not half-ass anything. It's either full ass or nothing. So I like to joke that it's my May Taurus energy. But really, it's that I'm a professional and I take my work and I take the things I do seriously. And if I'm not going to do it full ass, I might as well just not do it at all. Which means I'm really susceptible to burnout. Over time, if I'm not careful, I'll start to resent the time and energy that I choose to dedicate to something. In other words, I am fully capable of smothering my own flame. So with that in mind, I'll tell you about some of the signs that I knew I needed a pole break. One was that burnout feeling, which is hard to describe in detail, but I think we all know how it feels in some area of our lives. For me, I was doing a lot of teaching, I was taking a lot of classes, and I was at studios all the time, every day of the week, whether I was teaching or subbing or taking a class or going to a workshop or answering someone's questions about pole or someone sending me a video saying, can we learn this? And I just was like, I can't do any more of this. And in a way that I was sick of it, which I couldn't believe I would ever be sick of pole, but that's what burnout feels like. Another thing is tendinitis. I have tendinitis in both elbows and my forearms feel incredibly ropey, and it's painful. It's exacerbated by working at a laptop during my day job, but pole, as you know, is gripping and grip strength over and over and over again. So my tendinitis wasn't going to get better unless I mitigated it and gave myself a break from pole. Well, I did cry. A dry creative well is the other one. And, weekly coming up with lesson plans or choreography, that was like the hardest thing, coming up with little flows for my students to do, and then having enough creative energy left over to come up with something for myself if I wanted to perform at a showcase. Or even just scrolling through Instagram looking for things that I'd like to try. I just was like, I just couldn't get interested in anything. And all of that felt pretty bleak. But the thing that sent me over the edge was the last thing, pain. Now, tendonitis is painful, but I chose to put the word pain by itself on this slide because I wanted to explain, because I think it's really important, that pole had morphed over the years into something else for me, right? It's movement, it's art, it's creativity, but and you can kind of start to forget, it's also a workout. And I wasn't leaving my workout feeling sore, like I'd done a lot of work, like, ooh, my muscles are sore. A couple days later, I wasn't feeling DOMS. I was just in constant pain everywhere, all the time. And it was obvious to me that my body was crying out for something else. So was my soul, and so was my brain. If you look at that list, this is mind, body, and soul screaming out for something else. And just because I knew I needed something else doesn't mean I knew what that something else was. So I decided it's time for a break so I can let the dust settle and chill out for a minute, and maybe I'll be able to hear what my body and mind and soul are trying to tell me. So we've established that a pole break is in order. So just take one. Well, it turns out it's not as easy as all that. Like stopping the thing that you love cold turkey, it's not easy, especially when your income is tied to it as well, because I'm an instructor. So I had to figure out what a pole break looked like for me. So I'm going to show you that. It's not going to look like a break, but I promise you it is. So what my pole break looks like. I went from teaching 3 days a week at 3 different studios to teaching just 1 day a week. So I get to be an instructor and still derive satisfaction, but I'm not maxed out teaching so much. I look forward to that 1 day a week. And then open pole, that's my self-guided time. I don't lesson plan during that time. I explore things that I want to learn, and it's entirely self-directed. And if I go to that open pole session and I just lay on the floor because that's what I want to do, then that's fine. And then I'm a student 1 day a week instead of 2 or 3. So, and I go to class, somebody else tells me what to do, and then I go home. So it doesn't sound like a break, but I cut my pole studio time, like I cut my pole time in half. I got a lot of days back. And what am I doing with those days? Well, I can do anything I want. And I decided to explore non-pole exercise because my body was in such pain, but I want to move it, but I want to move it in ways that feel good. So I'm exploring group exercise and of course yoga. So I have 2 days doing that. So I'm just as busy. So that's why it doesn't look like a break, but my body and my mind and my soul feel so much more open. I feel like I have so much more space. So to me, it feels like a break. And the last thing is pretty interesting. I had to fire myself from a few things. And I put that in air quotes because like I told you before, I am intense. I only do things if I only do things full ass. I don't half ass anything. So working as an instructor at a studio, I started to take on responsibilities and concerns and frustrations and other kinds of things that were not my job. The studio is not my business. The studio has an owner. And I realized that I was assigning myself things that weren't mine to assign myself. So since I gave myself the job of like employee of the month at the pole studio, I, in my head, fired myself from that job. That is not my job. The studio owner can handle it. And I don't need to assign myself these responsibilities. And that has given me a lot of space in different ways. So how's my break going? Well, mentally, I feel pretty good. Taking a step back freed up some cognitive space, like I said. Social media is more irritating. I don't really know what to make of that, but it's more irritating and it's less of a source of inspo for me. And it's not because I'm scrolling through my phone and I'm having FOMO. It's more just like the more I take a step away, the sillier it all seems to post things on socials. I don't know. I don't really have a good explanation for it. I'm just observing it, just sensing it, and I'll respond to it when I have something to say. I know I'm getting stronger in other ways physically through the other kinds of fitness I'm doing, and I'm still polling 3 times a week. So I can still do all the same things that I could do before I took this break. But tricks that used to feel easy are now a little harder. I notice that I grunt a little bit more every time I do things that I never grunted through before. So that's kind of it. I have feelings about it, but I also know I'm getting stronger in other ways. And I also remind myself that I used to leave pole not feeling sore. Well, if things are getting harder again, then I'm going to leave feeling sore and my workout will have achieved what I want it to achieve. So it's all good, but it's also all up here. I'm finding that most of the impact of this break is happening up here. So here's why it can feel hard to take a break. Like, why is it so hard to give yourself permission to take a break? Honestly, it's probably internalized capitalism. I mean, like we don't value rest. Taking a break does not mean that you're lazy, though. It doesn't mean you don't care enough, and it doesn't mean you don't work hard enough. Taking a break means that you have what it takes to make a sustainable, lifelong commitment to something that you care about. And I am here to tell you that as many times as you need me to say it. If you look around at some other people who post on social media, or you look to the other people at your studio, or just anyone else, you might find different attitudes. You might find anti-rest attitudes. Like, if you love something, there are no rest days. Like, that's horseshit. I'm just here to tell you that it is. Okay. Like, you are allowed to rest and love something. They're not mutually exclusive. You'll see identity crises. Like, I am a pole dancer. If I take a break, who am I then? Like, am I still a pole dancer? Yes. Also, you're so much more than that. But that's like a whole different therapy session. But that can be a real reason for people to not want to take a break, because who am I if I do? And then FOMO. Like, if I take a break, I'll be so far behind. And to that, I would say, behind what? Like, there's no exam. There's no benchmarks you have to hit. But I'm just acknowledging that these are very real feelings that people have about why they don't want to take a break. And what's not on here, but it is totally true, and I'm going to call it out, is that, like, instructors like me up until recently will tell other people to rest. They'll tell other people to take a break, but they don't do it themselves. Like, rest is good, breaks are good, but not for me. Because we think deep down, I think, thanks to internalized capitalism, that makes us lazy and therefore bad. And it's just not true. It's just not true. So here's a hot take. A break is also not a referendum. Like, just because you take a break, it doesn't have to be like forever, right? You can come back. In fact, you'll probably come back better. And you can also modify the terms of your break as you go. Sense and respond, because the real relationship that you're nurturing here is arguably not with pole dance. It's with yourself. Okay, so here are some signs that you might need a break. So these are some questions that you can ask yourself. How does your body feel? We all know that pole hurts, right? Like, thigh burn from Superman is proof enough that pole hurts. The discomfort from conditioning something new and the soreness of a good workout might be okay, but straight up joint and tendon pain, like, not so much. So if your body is telling you something, a break might help you to listen. Another question to ask is, are you enjoying yourself? If you find yourself dreading going to pole class, that is a big sign that you need a break. Most of us started pole dancing because we wanted to move our bodies in a new way, in a way that felt fun. A lot of people say, well, I just want to find a workout that feels like fun so it doesn't feel like working out. Okay, well, if you're not having any fun, then it's probably time to take a break. Another question to ask is, do you feel stressed out about pole? And I know that sounds kind of silly. Like, how could pole be stressful? But it's true. Pole-related stress is becoming more of a reality as pole becomes more and more popular. There's pressure to do photo shoots and competitions and performances so you can prove to the world that you are a good pole dancer. If you're an instructor, your income is at stake if you decide to take a break. There's also something that my bestie Jen and I talk about as the nuclear arms race of pole, that, like, the more people who do pole and the harder and harder the tricks get, it's a nuclear arms race. Like, how high does this go? So you can often feel like you're never good enough, but it's because the definition of good enough is arbitrary and stupid, but it also keeps getting pushed out further and further as people do crazier and crazier things. and it can feel like keeping up with the Joneses. So if you're feeling any of these stresses, these are all signs that pole has become something else for you. And a break might help you to sort out what that something else is and how you can return to pole with a different mindset, or, sad to say, find something that's a little healthier for you. And last but not least, are you making any progress? If I'm honest, I kind of hate the wording of this question, because if you aren't, progress implies moving forward, right? And you don't always have to be moving forward to call it progress. Progress looks different for everybody, and I cannot stress this enough. Progress is not my code word for like mastering pole tricks at a steady, fast, and linear rate. Like, by progress, I just mean, are you moving in a direction that you want to go? And moving could mean like not moving very much at all, but like, are you doing what you want to do? Are you going where you want to go? If you aren't, or better yet, you don't really know why you're doing this or what you want to do with it or where you want to go, a break might give you time to reflect on that. So let's say you take that break and then you decide you miss it, you're ready to return, and you're so excited. Couple of tips: start slowly. Set realistic goals. You're not going to be able to do the things that you did when you took your break, most likely. Maybe you will. I don't know. But feel it out and go slowly and set realistic goals. And be patient with yourself. And most importantly, have fun. Enjoy being a beginner again. Especially since beginning again is such an amazing opportunity. How many times have you said or heard it said, "Oh, if I knew then what I know now," or "if I could do it all over again"? Well, taking a break from pole dancing actually affords the opportunity to begin again. It's like hopping in a time machine. You get to do it all over again, but in a wiser and more informed way. I mean, what can be more rad than that? So if you are going to be a beginner again, and you're going to set new goals with all of the knowledge and experience that you gain from the reflection you did over your break, the track method is something that I can highly recommend to you. The track method is the only goal-setting strategy designed specifically for pole dancers. It focuses on timing, resources, advantages, challenges, and keenness. Keenness being the most near and dear to my heart, because it's my word for do things you give a shit about and don't worry what anybody else thinks is cool. And the track method is the perfect tool if you are a beginner or if you are a beginner again. Now, the only place to find the track method is in the Ultimate Pole Goal Notebook. Now, I created the UPGN, which is my abbreviation for the Ultimate Pole Goal Notebook, because as you can tell, brevity is not my strong suit, so I rely on abbreves to make things shorter. But I created the UPGN using student input, and it's designed to help you capture what you learn in class, to plan your open pole or home pole sessions, and celebrate your milestones and even more. And I'll take this opportunity to say thank you so much for attending my webinar. And if you're curious about what BKKP is all about, that is my brand. I am a solopreneur. I am the only person behind this business. It is my business, and I design all of the products. And if you order something, I'm the one who ships it. And if you email me because you have a question, I'm the one who answers it. So I am the B behind BKKP Pole Dance Essentials. And BKKP is your go-to source for well-made, thoughtfully designed, ethically produced pole dance essentials. I use only ethical labor, and I make these products specifically for pole and the people who do it. The Bee's Knees Knee Pad, the Floorwork Shrug, the Pole Bag Mini and the Pole Bag Pro, the Ultimate Pole Goal Notebook that I just mentioned to you, and the Pole Instructor Plan Book. So visit shopbkkp.com for more details on all of these products. Thank you so much for coming to my webinar, and happy polling.